All right, guys, just grooving out a bit there as I drive to the record store and thought, hey, let's do a on the way to the record store video discussion here. I'm listening right now to Alcatrazz, Dangerous Game. Now, this was their third album, and it featured Danny Johnson on guitar. But if we go back to the beginning of Alcatrazz, when they started out, Graham Bonnett, he was the real guy, the draw to it, and you had Jimmy Waldo and Gary Shea. Those two guys have gone on to do lots of different things, but in particular, coming over from the band New England, which was like a pop rock band, kind of early progressive, well, not early progressive rock, but leanings of progressive rock into the pop rock stuff, AOR, arena rock, all of that. Join up with Graham Bonnett to create the debut album, No Parole from Rock and Roll, which was absolutely outstanding, very much in the vein of that Rainbow album, Down to Earth. So easily kind of on parallel, but the secret weapon of the band was the fact that they had Yngwie Malmsteen on guitar coming over from Steeler. And with Yngwie Malmsteen,
stay in the left 2 lanes,
Jimmy Waldo, Graham Bonnett in there, just simply very, very cool lineup and kind of the right parts at the right time to create something really quite amazing. Now, unfortunately, Yngwie didn't stay for the second album, right? So you have Steve Vai, another phenomenal guitar player, coming in to join them to, pull them to the next level. But they go a bit more poppy, sort of the same way that when Steve Vai was in David Lee Roth's band after Eat 'Em and Smile into Skyscraper. They do more keyboards and stuff. That was just the era, that's just the time and everything. But I really liked what Steve Vai brought to the band on Disturbing the Peace. But that album didn't quite do the same that No Parole from Rock and Roll did. That one just had a much harder edge. Hiroshima, General Hospital, I can't even name the rest of them, just such good stuff on that album. But those first two, really amazing. Of course, then unfortunately, Steve Vai leaves. It's sort of the downfall of Alcatrazz, not being able to hold on to a guitar player. But they had some really killer ones in there. And we move on to the third album that I'm currently listening to, given a real feel for here with Danny Johnson. Not quite the histrionics on the guitar that Yngwie Malmsteen, Steve Vai did, but good solid stuff. The thing is, they continue much in that vein of going towards the pop.
In about 10 miles, take a slight right turn onto Raymond Road.
And so we have that to sort of counter where they come in with. The thing is, you've always got Graham Bonnett doing those great, fantastic, sort of almost yelling, sort of gravelly vocals, but he does it in such a way that it's just very, very unique. It was my favorite thing that he drew me to in terms of the Rainbow Down to Earth album, and he's continuing to do it on this. I just really wish that Alcatrazz had continued on, but I also wish they had been able to hold on to a lineup a lot longer so that maybe they could have really kind of built up a following behind them. I think unfortunately they lost fans along the way due to that. Over the years, they've been seen as a much bigger band, something that was a stepping stone for greater things, like Alcatrazz with Yngwie, leading to Yngwie going solo and finally really kind of achieving the status that he deserves. And of course, Steve Vai leaves Alcatrazz and goes on to David Lee Roth. Again, really getting the status that he deserves there before going solo. Well, he goes over to Whitesnake even. So, you have a lot of cool sort of members as stepping stones into other things. Although for Jimmy Shea or Gary Shea and Jimmy Waldo, their stepping stone was New England, which they had some success with. But a really different thing, although we shouldn't really be surprised about the pop element to be brought to Alcatrazz if you know about the band New England, which is really cool. I've just sort of gotten into them recently due to the videos that I've been making with Pete Pardo over on Sea of Tranquility, talking about bands that were right on the edge of prog, not quite prog, but what were they? this band being more in that pop rock direction like Styx. So of course that makes sense that that would happen with Alcatrazz, because you've got the bass player and the keyboard player from New England coming in. You know, you've got Graham Bonnett, who was a crooner. You know, he made albums in the 70s before coming over and doing these things that was much more in the vein of a pop artist. So you got all these guys that were sort of part of the pop world and everything coming over to make a metal album. And how did it go? Well, we know, because we've got these 3 killer albums. Jump ahead 20, 30 years, whatever it is, they reunite and they released the album, I think it was called Born Innocent. Phenomenal album. Guitar player for that band, I'm kind of spacing, but I want to say it's Michelangelo Battio, but could be wrong on that, and I really apologize if I'm getting the guy's name wrong. But a phenomenal guitar player there. Unfortunately, they only make one album with Graham Bonnett, boot him out, and bring in Yngwie White. So this band is just constantly changing members, and unfortunately that really hurts bands, because you get fans that get behind members and they're not able to hold on to that. I'm a huge Graham Bonnett fan, and once he was out, it sort of diminished my appeal for what is Alcatrazz. And he's supposedly supposed to be doing his own version of Alcatrazz with oh God, and I'm drawing a blank again. It's hard to drive and recall all of these guitar players' names on call, but the guitarist from Nevermore is now the guitar player in Graham Bonnett's Alcatrazz, but that's been going on and been talked about for maybe the last 4 or 5 years or so, and so I don't really know what's going on there. Graham Bonnett's released a solo album in the interim and not an Alcatrazz album. Maybe he's only allowed to tour, maybe he can't, you know, record under the name. I don't really know what's going on with all of that. But now in Alcatrazz, they've ditched Yngwie White and they brought in a new guy whose name escapes me as well. But, you know, he's done things here and there, and he's popped up in various little projects and stuff. So the guy's building a name for himself. He comes from the band Jag Panzer, a German metal band. And he's also, I think, an editor or contributor for Brave Words Bloody Knuckles, a really great music news channel that I visit quite often in order to bring you guys the stuff that is needed for Music News Roundup. So I know the guy through that. It's kind of interesting to see him make the leap from, you know, working on this website with music news and everything to now being a singer fronting bands like Alcatrazz. And I'm trying to remember, I'm just not doing it quick enough, but he's now jumped on to doing another band. I want to say a new wave of British heavy metal band has pulled him in recently. One that I was just recently talking to you guys about in one of my, you know, various episodes here. But all in all, it seems like Gary Shea, Jimmy Waldo, those are our 2 key guys that are always around, and everyone else around them changes. So that's just kind of the nature of where things are at with Alcatrazz. I am interested to see what they do vocally, you know, on the new album that they're working on, but they may well have changed far too many members for me to really want to keep up with them in all. Don't know. Loving Graham Bonnett. I'm sticking with Graham Bonnett. He was the guy that got me over into Alcatrazz in the first place, meaning following his career from Rainbow. Graham Bonnett's got a fantastic album called Line Up that I think he did in like 80, 81, right after he left Rainbow. That's basically all former guys of Rainbow, like Neil Murray's in there, other various guys playing on it. We've got Bernie Marsden on guitar from White Snake. So lots and lots of cool guys. I really kind of consider that a Rainbow down-to-earth album too, just the way it sounds and feels and what it was put together as, before he does Alcatrazz, which gets a little bit more into the metal side of things. I know I gotta say metal, you know, I didn't even do that right. There you go, there's metal, hang 10 or heavy metal, right? Anyways, I thought it'd be interesting just because I've been listening to this as I've been driving and this stuff has been gearing through my head. So I'm kind of curious about your take on not only Alcatrazz and Graham Bonnett and the various guitar players that have come through the lineup, but other bands that change members, sort of like changing underwear, meaning every album there's different guys. White Snake did it, Deep Purple has done it, Black Sabbath did it, and really I don't think there's a lineup in there or a band that's in there that this has really benefited from. In hindsight, it's kind of cool. They get the retro respect due to all the cool members, but at the time I tend to think it hurts their appeal and overall ability to pull fans in and keep them. All right, everyone, well, for me, back to the road as I continue on to the record store, but hopefully you've enjoyed this interesting driving episode as we've discussed these cool topics like this. So take care, guys. Leave your comments, let me know your thoughts, and I'll be talking to you real soon. Bye, everyone.